Coming up in this Brightline construction update, this update looks at day 2 of the cutover of the Micco crossover, and at the finished crossover a couple of weeks later. The Micco crossover is located on the southern border of Brevard County, Florida, just north of the Sebastian River. In part 1 of my look at the cutover, which you can see at the link above, we looked at one of the turnouts being installed and the AFW work train in action. Now 24 hours later, the turnout is fully installed, and crews are working to finish up the ballast. The ballast that was dropped yesterday was moved into position, and the work train was here again earlier in the day to drop more ballast directly onto the tracks. Crews were still working on testing the new signals. A tamper is now in action. Crews are gathered around the tamper as it works around the frog. In the distance by Holly Street, a stabilizer is parked and waiting. When everything is done, it will come through and vibrate the tracks to make sure all the ballast has locked into its final position. The benefit of this is that the track can open at full track speed instead of requiring several days of slow orders as they wait for the vibration of the trains themselves to do the work. A crew is inspecting the tamping job here, and a small skid steer is dropping additional ballast where needed. You can see lines where the ballast has settled as the tamper makes its way along. The tamper works by first lifting the tracks slightly. Its tines then drop down on either side of a tie and vibrate the ballast underneath it to get rid of any unexpected voids and to lock the ballast together. The tines come up and repeat in the middle of the tracks and the other side before the track is dropped and the machine moves forward one tie and repeats again. The process is slower on turnouts due to the additional moving pieces and linkage that physically moves the points that have to be avoided. Here, a high railer makes its way through the site. Once the tamper was finished, it moved back through the site so the ballast regulator could go to work. And here is the ballast regulator at work. It has big brushes that spin to spread out the ballast and clean it off the ties. I came back 2 weeks later to take a closer look at the completed crossover now that the crews and equipment were gone. All of the turnouts and signals are now activated and in service. Ties are laid to the south from Holly Street. Laying to the side here are pieces of the old turnout for the Micco siding that are now waiting to be disposed of. Here's an up-close look at one of the switch points. The yellow bars are holding the two turnouts together here since they were constructed and installed at separate times. This keeps the gauge of the track from spreading out or coming too close together. Three main bungalows were installed to run the crossover and associated signals. The smaller bungalow here is for use by the future PTC system. The last piece of equipment here is this Pettibone speed swing. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Also check out my social media pages.